Thank you very much for showing up, everybody, for this emergency live stream. I'm joined by immigration attorney Grant Dwyer. Grant, what a day, huh? We've been getting a lot of questions, getting bombarded left, right, and center. Obviously, this breaking news from the administration side that visas of 75, visa processing of 75 countries will be suspended indefinitely starting from January 21st. Now, before I sort of like give you the microphone, I'd like to explain a few things here. Is that thing number one? A lot of people think that, all visas are suspended from these 75 countries indefinitely, right? Now, I saw some news of here at Fox News, and it says, I'm not sure if you guys can see it. U.S. freezes all visa processing for 75 countries. Now, when you read it like that, I'm not too sure whether this is accurate or it's just a headline. I'm assuming, judging my journalism background, that this is just some bad journalism, like all visa processing. Whereas the statement from the Department of State clearly suggests that it's immigrant visas. So I'm not too sure whether Fox News or any other news organization really know the distinction between immigrant visas and non-immigrant visas. Maybe that's just a mistake. But what we understand here, which is clear at this moment, that it looks like it's the immigrant visas, right? Now, we still do not have a memo, detailed information as to whether this is, non-immigrant visas or all visas. Uh, but so far, our recollection, our understanding is that this is just going to affect immigrant visas from 75 countries. Now, that being said, Grant Dwyer, what's your first sort of like recollection, first ideas?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Aladdin. First of all, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to talk with you. It has been kind of a crazy day for everyone. There's context to this, and I think everything that comes out of the White House or the State Department always should be kept in context, right? We met, the two of us, online a couple months ago, last November, when the White House and the State Department were issuing some proclamations and executive orders a few months ago. You may remember there was a tragic shooting in Washington, D.C. The suspect in the crime was an Afghani citizen, I believe. And it raised this conversation about how to properly vet immigrants and others who are coming into the United States. That's the conversation that's still ongoing. At the time, the State Department and the White House issued, again, an executive order and a proclamation to increase scrutiny, to look more closely at people who are applying for entry to the United States. It's in the wake of those decisions that apparently the State Department has issued a memo to these 75 countries. The memo has not yet been made public, but it was leaked to Fox News, who broke the story, indicating that there's going to be some type of suspension or indefinite pause at the consulates in these 75 countries. What exactly does this mean? It's unclear. There hasn't been clarity given to us yet. The most basic reading, as you've kind of shared, and you shared your Twitter feed there, is that this is most likely to impact folks who are looking to have their green cards approved in the consulates of these 75 countries. As you point out, whether someone's an immigrant or a non-immigrant is kind of technical language. And everyday Americans, everyday people don't always use the same words for these ideas, right? The language used by Fox News and by the State Department appears to affect only quote unquote immigrant petitioners, right? So people who are coming and applying for green cards or permanent residents. And our hope is this does not have an effect on non-immigrant visa holders, which are the folks who are applying for E2 visas, O1 visas, any visa that has an expiration date.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Grant. I'm now sharing my screen here. And again, first time I share this one, let me share this one. It clearly says here the Twitter account or X account or Department of State that immigrant visa processing. This is clear. It's immigrant visa processing. When we look at the Fox News article that says all visa processing at the title, yet when you go down here, it says the State Department is pausing immigrant visa processing for 75 countries in an effort to crack down on applicants deemed likely to become a public charge. Again, it's clear here. I would take this as, some bad journalism or, capture some attention. When we look at this CNN report, it says U.S. is suspending immigrant visa processing for 75 countries. Now, we'll go down to the details of why, this is happening. But for our audience who may not be familiar with the distinction between immigrant and non-immigrant visas, could you please elaborate on what are, some of the most common non-immigrant visa categories and what are some of the immigrant visa categories so that our clients who are eyeing the E2 visa or L1 can make sense of it?
Sure. I mean, there's a simple way to understand it. Does your visa, does your permission to live and work in the United States have an expiration date? If it does, that's a non-immigrant visa. What are some classic examples? The O1 talent visa, the E2 investor visa, the E1 treaty trader visa, the H1B, the L1A, the L1B. All of these visas are granted for a specific time period, and they all have expiration dates. Now, in most cases, you can renew these visas and keep staying on in the United States, but they still have an expiration date. Those are all classified as non-immigrant visas, and you'll see the acronym NIV all over the government websites, right? Immigrant visas, they usually start with the letters EB, EB1A, EB5, these types of things. These are immigrant visas. When you receive them, you have permanent residence. You have what people used to call a green card. You never have to leave the United States. You're here for good. You're a permanent member of our community. The news that we're seeing now out of the State Department, and despite the Fox News headline, appears to only impact immigrant applicants, people who are applying for a permanent residence or a green card from one of these 75 countries who have to go through the consulate to have their petition processed, right? So it's a much smaller group than it might seem initially.
Yeah. I'd like to share again my screen here, if I may. There's a pretty good chart. Window, our screen. Give me a second. Are you able to see this?
No, but here you go. Something's coming up now.
Okay, cool. Now this is a pretty good categorization of what those visas are. Now, at the non-immigrant category, you have your tourist visa. You have your visa waiver. This is usually known as ESTA. For countries who do not necessarily require a visa to come to the U.S., such as EU members, most EU members, Canada, Chile, and etc. Then you have your B1, B2s, tourism and temporary business traveler. It's a non-immigrant visa. Again, E1, E2, trader and treaty investor visas. These are non-immigrant visas. F1 student, O1, L1. H1Bs and Rs and Js and whatever else. These are most common non-immigrant visas, right? Immigrant visas, also known as the green card, permanent residency, are usually the ones that start with the EBs, the employment-based categories. There are other categories as well, but the most usual ones are EB, EB1, EB1A, EB1C, EB2, EB2 NIW, EB3, EB4, and EB5 categories. Now, what we are making off of this particular tweet by the State Department is that this particular category, if you're applying for, maybe family or marriage, asylum, or employment based, if you are from these countries, chances are, again, without the full clarity, chances are these processes will be paused following, January 21. Again, to what extent, we don't know. Whether this is going to affect those people who are here and just adjusting their status from non-immigrant to immigrant visas, we don't know. All we know is, hey, immigrant visas from these 75 countries will be suspended. Non-immigrant visas such as E2s and L1s, based on what we know so far and based on what we understand so far, are not going to be affected. Now, does that mean that this is the concrete truth? No. We'll still have to see what the memo is going to be like and what the details of this is going to be. But if you are even mildly literate about U.S. immigration, you can understand the distinction between immigrant and non-immigrant visas. Some other piece of evidence, what kind of helps us sort of like come to this conclusion, is that, let me share my screen here again, is this. Now, while Department of screening and veteran procedure, the countries include Somalia, Russia, Afghanistan, Brazil, Nigeria. Pause will begin January. Somalia has drawn. Okay. A State Department cable sent posts around the globe instructed consular officers to enforce sweeping new screening rules under the so-called public charge. What this public charge is, and what is meant here, are basically people who are collecting welfare, right? So the idea is, hold on, we're America first. We're the Trump administration. We don't want to be providing welfare or any other aid to immigrants as opposed to Americans. They're being a burden on the Treasury, and we don't want this to happen, right? Because of this, currently we're stopping the immigrant visa processing for these 75 countries, the immigrants from which are at an increasing rate or at a higher rate depending on welfare, right? So that's basically the idea there. And it says immigrant visas. Our conclusion at this time that 90% that this is just covering immigrant visas. Anything else to add there, Grant?
Yeah, I would just kind of circle back to my comment about context, right? If this White House is anything, it can be kind of predictable based on what stories are in the news cycle, right? Just after that shooting in Washington, we got those proclamations and those EOs. Just in the past few weeks, there's been a lot of media here in the United States about fraudulent behavior, a lot of it centered in the city of Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota, involving allegedly Somalian immigrants, right? It's been all over the news. And so it's in the wake of that context that this announcement reaches us, where they're saying, hey, we're concerned about immigrants who are drawing on public welfare resources, right? It's another reason I think we may take some courage and recognize probably this will not be applying to temporary visa holders, most of whom are coming to the United States on the basis of a job or an investment, right? If you're looking to apply as an E2 investor, you're bringing a substantial investment with you into the United States, and you're proving to USCIS that that investment is enough to support you and your family, plus profit your business. You're not going to be the type of applicant who will be relying upon social welfare.
Yeah, we kind of lost you there, Grant. But essentially, what you're saying is the reason why this particular practice is happening is because of this particular burden that's being talked about. And if you're bringing your money, you're bringing your talent, you're bringing your time or know-how, expertise, you are adding and contributing to this country. Therefore, you should not have anything to worry about. Yeah, that's what you said, Grant.
Yeah,
Correct?
I apologize if I'm a
Something
bad
along those lines.
communicator. Yeah, exactly.
No, no, no. All good, all good. All right. Yeah, I mean, we have a comment here. It says having in mind the coming soccer World Cup here in the States, what kind of visa does a national soccer team applies in order to compete? Yeah, I mean, the soccer World Cup is coming, and yeah, it's not immigrant visas; it's non-immigrant visas. You still can have those, and that's what my understanding is. If that's not the case, the World Cup is over,
Yeah.
because there will be countries from those 75 countries.
There's a visa
Yeah,
class called the P visa, and that visa usually handles professional athletes who are on big teams. And I can almost guarantee you that every single one of those World Cup competitors will be allowed into the United States. And specifically,
yeah.
tourists coming on a B visa to attend the World Cup should not have any trouble.
Yep. All right. All right, guys. Please go ahead and send in your questions if you have them. If not, in order to sort of like summarize, and those who joined, who recently joined. Let me share my screen here. The point of origination and the reason why we wanted to do this live stream was to clear the air. A tweet this morning from the Department of State said that State Department will pause immigrant visa processing from 75 different countries, and then Fox News put out this particular title: U.S. freezes all visa processing for 75 countries. And all of a sudden, we started receiving, texts and emails from our clients from Azerbaijan, from Mongolia, and they're like, "Alaattin, what's happening?" And we're like, "Okay, hold on, give us a second. Let's look into this, right?" And the moment you look into this, you see here all visa processing for 75 countries. You continue reading this. He's like, "Oh, he's pausing immigrant visa processing for 75 countries." What we thought is that this is just a simple mistake, and it's the journalists are putting this particular article may not necessarily know the difference between immigrant and non-immigrant visas. And yeah, that's basically that. That's the origination point of this live. And what those countries are, I'm sure you guys will go through it yourselves. But it's a lot of countries. A lot of countries. Countries that are shocking. Albania. Albania is shocking to me, to be honest with you. Algeria, Armenia, Azerbaijan. Armenia and Azerbaijan, really? Then you have Bosnia, Brazil. This is all interesting stuff. Colombia, Georgia. So European countries. Kazakhstan. That's partially because of Borat. Kosovo, and then you have Kuwait. Even immigrants from Kuwait, really? So interesting. Pakistan. Then you have Bangladesh. Yeah, Bangladesh here as well. Uruguay, and Uzbekistan. These were the surprising ones to me. Again, this cannot be a complete halt to all visa processing from 75 different countries. It's just the immigrant visas from these countries, which are EB1s, EB2s, EB3s, EB4s, EB5s. That's at least what we think is happening right now. A few more questions, and then we're going to call it a day. Will the visas go to other countries like India and Philippines, etc.? Interesting question. Now, people of Indian origin, people of Chinese origin, and Philippines to a certain extent are subject to a backlog, right? In some cases, at the EB2 category for Indians, this is like 15 years. What do you think, Grant? Now that they're not issuing green cards to these 75 countries, you think there's going to be
My
some
yeah,
ease?
transfer. My bet is no. But again, we're just speculating here, right? But if I were a betting man, I don't think that's the direction it's going. One thing to keep in mind, and this has been a common theme in this presidency as well, there will likely be legal challenges to these orders. And again, we've not even seen the order yet, right? Right now, this is just a media story. It's a tweet, right? If we give it some credibility and we think there really is something to this, in all likelihood, this will have to work its way through the US courts to make sure it's constitutional. And there will be all kinds of opposition to it that may slow these things down. So it's a process. I think if I were out there and I were looking at applying for a visa or a green card, I would be anxious, right? It's kind of a scary day. But I would just say take courage and keep moving forward, step by step. And as we go, we will learn. But right now, I think there's nothing to panic about.
Yeah, that's my understanding anyway. America first. We want manufacturing here. We want investments here. We want businesses here. We want jobs here. And if you're doing that, no matter where you're from, yeah, well, it actually matters. You got to be from a treaty country. But if you're from a treaty country and you're bringing your money and your expertise, creating jobs, paying taxes, you should be fine. Zlatan here says if you take over Greenland, then all NATO will be on the list. I think so too, man. I mean, I'm from Turkey. Turkey's a NATO ally. We might be on that list soon. Let's see. What do you think? You think we're gonna take Greenland, Grant?
You don't want to get me started. I don't want to leave any. I'm a U.S. citizen. I don't want to leave any digital footprint of my politics on this website.
Sure.
Anything
All
could
right.
happen. Leave it like that.
Anything can happen. All right. Does this process affect the spouse visa? And if so, then how does it affect the people that are done with their petition process and waiting for a final interview to receive a visa? That's a very good question. And at the beginning of this live, I kind of mentioned that because it's unclear now whether this is only at consulates, maybe people here who are adjusting their status, they could be exempt from this particular change. We don't know that yet. But what do you think, Grant?
Yeah. So how it often works, even when you are adjusting status, is you will apply directly to USCIS with a form they call the I-140, right? And oftentimes that is approved, in which case you send documents to the National Visa Center, who then will send it back to your home consulate. So even for folks who are applying from within the United States, sometimes there's a requirement to go back through the consulate in your home country. If that's the case, which is an if, and if the consulate has been instructed to pause processing, another if, then there could be some delays or some obstacles in your course, even for family-based green card petitions. But again, it's pretty speculative at this point.
All right. When do you think it can be reversed or uplifted? This question came down twice from Shupraji Wakoti, 1475. Shupraji Wakoti, what I can tell you is that we don't know. We don't know whether it's going to be in full effect at all. And we don't know when it's going to be reversed or uplifted or ever. We don't have a good answer. You're sending the question for the third time. Really appreciate that. We don't have an answer to that. Does this affect people waiting for their consulate stamping? All approved was waiting for interview. Dexpel, is it an immigrant visa or a non-immigrant visa? That's important. If you're talking about a non-immigrant visa, again, based on our understanding, it shouldn't really affect it. But it's an immigrant visa. This might very well be in effect by January 21st. So I don't know. What do you think, Grant?
Yeah, I think I would ask those same questions. I mean, if you're applying for a permanent residence and you're planning to go through consulate and you're in one of these 75 countries, there could be an impact here.
Yep. Right. We have another question here. I have the E2 visa interview in Rome on January 20th. Wow. I am the Italian applicant, but my wife is Brazilian. Would that be a problem? I don't really think that it would be a problem because it's 120, right? This is going to be in effect on the 21st. And I don't think your spouse being from Brazil will have any effect. So you're Italian, right? You can't even do E2. Brazil is not a treaty country, right, Grant?
Yes, exactly. So I think this gentleman has a few things going for him. Number one, he's in there the day before this is supposed to take effect. Number two, Italy is not one of the countries affected, and he is the primary applicant. His spouse is just a dependent. And number three, he's looking at a non-immigrant visa. So I think he should be all right.
Yeah. Cool. Second question related to K1, the fiance visa. We're just waiting for the interview at home consulate. Where is that home consulate? That's important. And yeah, you could technically be. I don't know. What do you think, Grant? K visa. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're kind of starting to repeat ourselves here, but a lot of it is going to depend upon the details that we learn over the next few days, over the next week, right? You know, I think the State Department kind of wanted to make a splash. They wanted to make some news. They have made a lot of news. How will this play out? We're going to have to take it step by step. I would encourage anyone watching to reach out to us, reach out to your immigration lawyer if you have somebody else. And what I think, you know, most of the advice you're going to be getting today is we kind of have to wait and see.
I would also encourage everyone. We have over 70 people watching this live stream. I would also encourage every single one of you to click that like button because this is high stakes here, and we're trying to do this, you know, community service to answer all your questions as much as possible. Those who are sending in questions, please give the video a like, and those who are watching, please like this video so that the video is promoted across YouTube and people can just tune in. And we can answer the question. Now, I'd like to keep on going here a bit more, Grant, since we have over 80 people watching now. This is getting great traction. But for those who have just joined, let me just do a small recap. Why we're here, guys, is let me share my screen here for a minute. Grant, you're good to go for another 10, 15 minutes, right?
I'm going to shut this window so there's not the crazy light, and I'll be right back with you.
All right, cool. The reason why we're here, guys, this morning we saw a tweet from the Twitter or X account of Department of State that says the State Department will pause immigrant visa processing from 75 countries whose immigrants take welfare from the American people at unacceptable rates. The freeze will remain active until the U.S. can ensure that the new immigrants will not extract wealth from the American people. The important part here is the immigrant visa. And then this morning, we got hit by, 1,000 questions from you guys. And thank you for the questions. But people who are in the process of E2 visa, they all send us this particular article from Fox News that said U.S. freezes all visa processing for 75 countries. And the confusion was, hold on a minute, I'm from Azerbaijan, I'm from Mongolia, I'm from another treaty country. I'm in the process of applying E2 visa. I made my investment. What's going to happen now? You know, they're suspending all visas. And we dug deep into this thanks to our immigration attorney, Grant Dwyer. And even when you start reading the article into, a bit more into detail, you'll see that this, even on Fox News, the first sentence is the State Department is pausing immigrant visa processing for 75 different countries, right? When you read the article from CNN, it's clear that it says here that it's an immigrant visa. It's not necessarily the non-immigrant visas. And again, just recapping here, guys, if you've already seen this one, you might just skip this part ahead. But for those who don't necessarily know the difference between immigrant and non-immigrant visas, you're able to see my screen. Usually, at the non-immigrant category, we have visas such as the visa waiver, also known as the ESTA. We have your B1, B2s, E1, E2 visas, F1s. These are all non-immigrant visas. O visas, non-immigrant. L visas, H1Bs, Rs, Js. These are all non-immigrant visas. At the immigrant visas, which is also known as the green card, and these are generally the employment-based categories. There are other categories as well, but the EBs, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5. Our understanding is these categories, as well as some, I'm assuming, speculating here, asylum, maybe even marriage-based permanent residency or green card applications from these 75 countries will be halted starting in effect by January 21st. That's what we think is happening. Again, we don't necessarily know the full details of this in the upcoming days. I'm sure the State Department will air a memo that kind of talks about the implications of this, right? I'm pretty sure you, me, Grant here, as well as the visa officers at the consulate are all in shock, trying to understand, okay, how are we going to implement this? Because we don't have enough information now. That's the recap of what is happening right now. Again, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. We have now over 170 people watching the live stream. Please give this video a like. Those who are sending in questions, we're going to stay here for a bit more to answer your questions, but please give this video a like so more and more people can see it. So far, 105 watching, 17 likes. This is not good. Please support the live stream. Okay. My brother recently got an immigrant visa from Bangladesh. Bangladesh is on the list. Does he need to arrive in the US by January 21st? Interesting question. Grant?
So I guess what I would want to clarify from the question answer is where his brother is in the process, right? What does it mean that he recently got the visa? If he anticipates having to go through the US consulate in Bangladesh, and if indeed the US consulate in Bangladesh is being instructed to pause the permanent resident processing, it could be problematic. I don't imagine he's going to be able to get an appointment between today and the 21st if he doesn't already have one, but that might be something I would look at if those facts are in place.
Cool. What else? Is Belgium on the list? No. I'm the winner. I'm the winner of Diversity Visa 2020 from Nepal. Current case number, DV visa is also paused, and now this pause. Do you think I will get the visa? Oh man, that's a crappy situation to be in, Grant.
Yeah, they might reach out to us, and we can.
What about those immigrant visa applications?
Yeah, so can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't necessarily deal with. Yeah. Go ahead, Grant.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say that, we're not dealing on a daily basis, like I think you're going to say with the diversity lottery, but there's going to be a lot of specifics to each person's situation. What I would anticipate, particularly if there are legal challenges to this new memo, this new order, is that there may be some grandfathering in people who are already midstream or in the process, right? But again, this is one of the things we're going to have to wait and see how it plays out.
And 400, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure because at that point, the visa's already been issued, right? And 400 is a naturalization.
Yes, yes,
correct.
exactly.
I mean, you're already here on a green card. Yeah, he just had the visa interview at the U.S. consulate, provided him the immigrant visa on his passport. Okay, if he has the visa, then it should be okay.
Yep, he's through the process.
Does that include I-130 in Jordan? Does it?
So that's a family petition, and that's one of the possibilities. I mean, the I-130 itself will go through USCIS, but the family member being petitioned for, the beneficiary, depending upon how it's structured, may have to pass through the consulate. If that's the case, that could be a problem.
Got it. H4 considered a not immigrant visa. H4 is non-immigrant. H1B is non-immigrant. H4 is non-immigrant. Will these changes apply to I-140 and I-485 processing inside the U.S. changes status? We don't know. Not yet. We don't know. Maybe yes, maybe not. I'm assuming not, because you're already here and you're not dealing with the consulate, but maybe they could. Got B1, B2 recently. Can I travel to the U.S. from Pakistan? Should be okay. Shouldn't be a problem there. Will this pause USCIS processing my I-130 for Bangladesh?
From what
Most
we're
probably.
seeing, well, what we're seeing is the memos going out to the consulates, right? If that is also going to kind of splash back on USCIS processing, we don't know. That's not, in other words, that's not what's been reported today. What's been reported today is that a memo has been issued. The memo itself has not been released. And the spokesperson for the State Department has made a statement confirming the memo exists and that it's making this instruction. But the instructions specifically are to consulates, not to the USCIS.
Sorry, just joined the live, but does E2 visa get effective for a Canadian looking to move to the US? No. No. J1 obtained, but not yet in the US from Egypt. Again, if our thinking is correct, which we believe it is, J1 should be fine. K1, again, we talked about K1. Okay, cool. Well, we understand that there's a lot of immigration related questions. We here at Visa Franchise generally focus on non-immigrant visas such as E2s, L1s, O1s. Those seem not to be not being affected for the time being. If you guys are in the process or thinking about the E2 visa or E1, L1, reach out to us at visafranchise.com. Go through our eligibility test and see whether your country is the treaty member and see whether you could be qualified. Has this gone into law or does it require any other approval? I don't know. Grant, you're the attorney. Tell us, can it just be like, can they just say, you know what, this is what we're doing now and this is what we're going to do? And they do it. Does it happen like that in America, historically and now?
So, we get into a little bit of a civics lesson a little bit, right? And one of the things the United States government is premised on is this idea of checks and balances. And so there's three branches of government in the federal government. One of them is the executive branch. The executive branch is headed by the President of the United States. He can issue what we call executive orders or EOs. And Mr. Trump loves to issue EOs. Those EOs must be constitutional and they must follow other US laws, right? So Congress or the judiciary, the other two branches, can challenge these executive orders. Usually it's the judiciary, it's the court system. And some party who's negatively affected by an order can bring a suit, bring a case to a court. It usually goes right up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court must decide whether or not the president's order is constitutional. And that can take some time. So that's why these things sometimes roll out slowly and with a lot of opposition. So in other words, to answer this gentleman's question, no, the president doesn't make law. He can issue orders, but it's up to Congress to pass laws.
So this is going to be subject to congressional approval?
I don't know if I'd say approval. It will be subject to congressional oversight and certainly judicial oversight.
Got it. All right. What about those of us with spouses already in the U.S.? I'm a U.S. citizen. My wife's a green card holder. Will her citizenship path stop? That's not our understanding. I mean, based on what we read, no. Unless you think otherwise, Grant.
No, there's no suggestion of that today.
We're in U.S. and J1 visa. We're planning to apply for EB2. Can we still apply or not? Sir, please give me a response. I would like to give you a response, or I would like Grant to give you a response, but this is just a very broad question. We don't know your country. That's number one. Is your country in the list of the 75? If so, we still don't know whether this is just going to affect those people going through the consulate or people are adjusting status here. We don't know. Today's statement, it's not being suggested. So I'd like to give you an answer, but this is as much as we're able to say. What if someone already have I-140 approval? Are they affected? Again, is your country in the list? If so, are you adjusting status here? Those are very important things to know. If that's the case, let's speculate here, because a lot of people are asking, Grant. I know you're only 24, Grant, but you've been doing this for a couple of years now, young man. What do you think, if you were to speculate? Do you think this is going to affect people who are adjusting status here too?
Speculatively, I don't think so. I think that what the administration may be looking for is to get control of the news story, right? To kind of be on the offense. There's been a lot of talk, Alaattin, about this alleged fraud in Minnesota. I'm sure you've heard it in the news. You've seen it. It's a negative story. It's an ugly story. It's causing a lot of kind of turmoil domestically here in the United States. And our president right now, if nothing else, is a master manipulator of the media. He's really at using the media. And this announcement today positions the White House as being on the offensive. We're doing something about fraud. We're doing something about welfare fraud. We're doing something about illegal immigration. We're vetting the people who come into this country, right? I think it's a positive story politically for the White House. Do I think it will have long-lasting implications? I'm not so sure yet. We've heard a lot of talk out of the White House. So again, I know I've said it repeatedly, but I think we have to take it step by step. Don't lose faith. Don't lose courage. I would keep doing what you're doing. If you're in the process of applying for a permanent residence, I would keep moving forward. And if you've gotten that far in life, you probably don't take no as an answer very easily. So keep pushing, keep fighting, keep applying.
Thank you for that, Grant. And my understanding here is that, again, we'll be speculating here, but you got to sort of like roll this back. I mean, this issue has a history, right? I'm not necessarily talking about the immigration history in the United States, but let's go back to 2020 elections. Let's go back and look at some of the arguments that's being used by the current administration, and sort of like what happened and what sort of like led them to lose that particular election, and what the promises were in the 2024 election campaign, what they said about immigration, what they said about deportations, what they said about borders. And following that, we know the raging H-1B debate. And now, there was the talk of that $100,000 deposit of sorts for the H-1B. If you look at it like that, you see a clear pattern. And that pattern is so much so in the political discourse of the president of this country that you'll one day hear about, Somalians. You'll one day hear about, hey, why are we not getting enough immigrants from Norway? Why do we have to get immigrants from whatever countries? So the clear message there is that the base wants America first, and the understanding there is, hey, we want our jobs to be for us. We want anybody and everybody in this country to be, to be at least legal. We don't want anybody being illegal here, and we want to make sure that us, the citizens, are prioritized, right? And then you have what's happening with the welfare and with the support and everything, and the kind of frustration that it would cause. That is presenting an opportunity for a politician to take some political measures, right? And we saw that H-1B debate. We saw that with ICE, and we're seeing it today with these 75 countries. Again, prior to these 75 countries, it was a list of what, 12, 18, or 20 something. The list is getting bigger and bigger. So is this a surprise? Not necessarily. I don't think anything is surprising here. But if I'm an immigrant, which I am, right? What should I think? How should I think? Right. The reason why people are sending in these questions is because, hold on, guys, you guys seem to know what you're talking about, and we're anxious here. Just tell us sort of like how should we feel about this? How should we think about this? This is humbly, as an immigrant myself, what I think and how I see this entire issue, and that glimmer of hope, right? America first. We want to bring back jobs. We want to bring back manufacturing to the States. We're open for legal immigration. And the president of the country is saying, hey, I used H-1B in the past. We want the talent here. We want the investments here. So it seems like the country is open for legal immigration and immigration that clearly benefits the United States of America. So if I'm an immigrant, which I am, I would keep a positive attitude and looking at it from, okay, what am I doing that is spectacularly good for this country and benefiting this country? And if what I'm doing is along those lines, then I should be fine. Again, it's turbulent times, not necessarily for U.S. immigration and for the world. For the world, world is going, in directions that are, unfamiliar to many people. So what do you do in these times? Sometimes you have to wait it out. Sometimes you have to look into some alternative opportunities. Okay, maybe you were betting on this immigrant visa and green card and not really coming up with a substitution for your non-immigrant visa. But hey, it seems like this isn't going to be a reality for you, or there's going to be issues here. How can I sort of like create an alternative to this visa that I'm on? Should I look at the E2 visa? Should I look at the L1 visa? Should I look at the O1 visa? Is there an alternative? And luckily, the U.S. immigration system is so vast, and despite whatever we see on the news, it's, I think, one of the best immigration systems in the world by far. There will be options and opportunities. I would be hopeful, and I would just look at it from glass half full side and look at alternatives and look at ways to continue staying in this country. That would be my approach. Obviously, Grant, Dwyer, you were never in that situation, but you can still relate to this from a service provider perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, I was born in New York. I've been an American citizen my whole life. I feel grateful and blessed for that. And what I tell every applicant, whether they're looking for a visa or they're looking for a green card, I always kind of start the conversation a little bluntly, right? And I try to give them real talk. And I would tell it to anyone listening today. Begin at the beginning. Begin the conversation at the start, right? And at the start, again, if I permit me to speak bluntly, the United States government has no love for you. They are not your friend. They are not your family. They're a government who understands that their job is to protect wealth, employment, and opportunities for US citizens. That's why they were elected. They're there to do that job. So their default position today, tomorrow, 20 years ago, and 20 years from now is going to be to tell you, no, stay home, stay in Bangladesh, stay in Brazil, stay in Italy, stay home. We want to keep these opportunities for US citizens. So if you're out there and if you're applying for a visa or if you're applying for a green card, your job is to take that no and to say to the government, make an exception for me. Make an exception for me. And the reason why you should make an exception for me is because it will be better for you. It will be better for the United States if I'm there. Why will it be better? Well, because I have this money and I want to invest it in a business. Or I have this talent, this extraordinary talent. I want to come to the United States and use my talent. Or my employer has a subsidiary company in the US. They want to transfer me in, so I'm going to train US workers. Or my fiance, my wife is in the US and we should be together to raise our family, to raise our children, right? You're always giving reasons why you meet the exception. So I think what the news today really boils down to is the government saying, once again, nothing new. We don't love you. We're not rolling out the red carpet. We want you to stay where you are. And your job today, just like it was yesterday, is to say, no, wait a minute. If you make an exception for me, it will be better for the United States. That's true, Alaattin, if you're doing a national interest waiver. That's true if you're doing an E2 investment. That's true if you're doing a talent visa. You're always saying, look at what I have, my talent, my work, my skills, my savings. I'm bringing that to the United States. I think if you focus on it and look at the challenge that way, then not much has changed.
Grant, thank you very much for that. Let's go ahead and answer a few more questions. Kalinsky, I see it, man. I see you're sending in questions. We'll get to it. But let me see here if there are questions that we haven't answered. And really quickly, we want to go through. Let's go with Kalinsky. Filing for mom in Jamaica. Her interview is next month. Flies this affect her? Flies this?
Probably does this affect her?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it could. It depends on what type of. It looks like it's a family petition here, right? And so whether or not this filters down to family petitions, we don't know. Whether or not this really goes into effect January 21st, like the memo indicates, we don't know. Will there be court challenges? We're not sure. The best way forward is to proceed cautiously. You know, don't change or cancel any appointments. Don't make any drastic decisions. If you have an appointment, keep the appointment. Do everything you can do until you're told no. And even then, don't always accept the no, right? Keep fighting, keep pushing, and we can find a path.
Thank you, Grant. My fiance from the Philippines coming through K1 will have her interview this March. Is she going to be affected? Is Philippines in the list?
I don't think so. I'd have to double check that list.
Let me see. Philippines is not in the list.
Should be all right.
Philippines is not in the list. So you should be okay. Got approved for I-140B1A. Congratulations. Documentary completed for consular processing. So waiting for embassy appointment in Thailand. I'm a Thai citizen. Will I be affected by the immigrant visa pause? Now, is Thailand in the list? The answer is yes. Thailand is in the list. Is this an immigrant visa? This is an immigrant visa. You'll go through consulates. You'll go through consulates.
Yeah, this looks like kind of exactly what they're suggesting is going to be a problem, right? Green card application, going through a consulate from one of the countries on the list with an interview date after January 21st, right? You know, I would encourage this individual They have an attorney, reach out to the attorney, reach out to us. This is something worth digging into a little bit.
Yeah, but this is not our wheelhouse. Let me tell you, immigrant visas are not really our wheelhouse. So you would be much better off getting a paid consultation from an immigration attorney. We're more focused on the E2s, L1s, non-immigrant visas, and business immigration. But my green card interview was yesterday. I got approved, and now waiting on my passport. Am I affected?
It sounds like he's kind of
What
through the
if your
pipeline.
green card interview was yesterday and you got approved?
It
Yeah,
sounds
sounds like, you know, you should be fine. Got approved for I-140 EB-1A. A lot of EB-1A approvals. Congratulations. I'm so happy to see this because I got approved for EB-1A as well. I know what it goes to getting your EB-1A approved. And first of all, congratulations. And it would suck if you been through all that, got the EB-1A approved, and now for whatever reason your green card's not coming through. That would be hell. Got approved for I-140 EB-1A and documentary completed for consular processing. So waiting for embassy appointment in Ciudad Juarez. Bangladesh citizen. Wow, you just threw me off there. I was not expecting Bangladesh. Will I be affected by the immigrant visa pause? Whew.
I would guess that this young woman has residence in Mexico, and that's why she's going through the consulate in Juarez. And that might be ultimately the good sidestep for a lot of people who are impacted by this. If you can somehow avoid having to process through those 75 consulates, right? Pretty sure Mexico is not on the list. Hey, Alaattin, you can double check for me. But
Mexico's not on the list.
If you have residence in Mexico and you're going through a Mexican consulate, then you might stand a better chance than having to go back through Bangladesh.
It says here, though, from 75 countries, who's migrants, right? It doesn't necessarily say consulates. Yeah.
Unknown.
So
but
you're from Bangladesh.
In some of the other language, they indicated the memo was sent to the consulates in these 75 countries, right? So it's unknown to us whether or not all consulates are being instructed to look for passports from these 75 countries, or if you're a Bangladeshi living in Mexico, if you're able to kind of sidestep the issue. It's something we're going to have to learn as time goes on.
Yeah. Okay. What if my green card interview was yesterday? Yeah, we already answered that one. Finally, for mom in Jamaica, we answered that one. There's a friend that is an interview for her visa in February. Will this affect her? Yeah, I mean, most probably if it's through a consulate and if it's an immigrant visa and if the country is on the list, most likely. Well, why do you want to come to US? Stop, please. Come on now, Purple Ghost. Purple Ghost 666. Do not display this. Why do people want to come to the US? Why do people want to come to the US? Because this is, despite all of its defects, it's the greatest country out there, and it allows you to be. It allows you to reach your fullest potential. It allows you to change the destiny for generations to come. That's the reason why I came here. And that's the reason why a lot of people are coming here, because this country will allow you to become a better version of yourself. And it may not be possible elsewhere, but it is possible here in the US. And there is something called the American Dream, which is kind of changing its meaning day by day. It's almost like a moving target. But is this a reality? Boy, it is a reality. I'm living it myself. A lot of people are living it. And yes, people will come to this country because it's the best deal out there. Do you want more immigrants, Grant Dwyer?
Listen, I live in Miami.
I'm like this friend here, Purple Ghost 666.
I live in Miami, Florida, and I think I probably live around more people born in other countries than I do around people born in the U.S. So it's a good place to be.
Is Ghana part of these countries? Yes. Please, I had an interview yesterday. F2A. I got approved. Now waiting on my passport. Am I affected? F2A, non-immigrant. And based on our understanding, again, nothing certain yet. Our understanding is that you should be fine. Is El Salvador on the list? Bukele. It's Bukele's domain. Checking the list. I don't see El Salvador.
No El Salvador.
Is it?
No.
Yeah. K1 we answered. My sister in Pakistan waiting for a visa interview. What will happen now? Depends on what the visa is. If it's a non-immigrant visa, more than likely she should be fine. Believe that any person that has to immigrate to the US has to consular process in their country of birth. Well, that's a belief. That's a belief. My interview, February 2nd, live in Pakistan. All process completed. US will issue me visa. It's a non-immigrant visa. Most likely, if you meet the criteria, you could. Is this going to affect anyone who is in the US as a tourist and wants to extend the visa? Not sure yet. Sounds like it's okay. What does this mean for current asylum seekers already in the process?
Probably no. Yeah, probably. I would say probably no big change. I mean, it's already kind of bad news. When you're in that asylum process, it's a long, slow process, and there's not a lot of great outcome to it. But I don't see an immediate change to your asylum petition based on today's news.
Is Kuwait on the list? To my surprise, it is. My dad interview is scheduled for LR1 in R1, you mean? IR1? R1, I think. USMC Islamabad. So visa ban effect. Okay. Let's
if it's an R1 religious visa, that's a temporary visa, and the way we're reading this news is that it's not affected.
Let's just look at here. This is an important list. Again, just to recap, we understand based on the tweet from the Department of State, is that this is immigrant visas, right? Currently, we don't have the impression that the non-immigrant visas will be affected unless the memo says otherwise whenever it's official. Visa R is a non-immigrant visa, just like visa E2, just like O1, just like L1, just like B1, B2. These should be fine, and most likely they are fine as we have the World Cup approaching here. So no, we don't think that'll be a serious issue. Okay, is Egypt on the list? Yes. I'm from Thailand. My PD for EB3 is currently staying in the US. Am I affected?
So again, the way we're reading the news today is that this is a directive given to the consulates overseas. If people who are in the US who are awaiting their green card or who are adjusting status to green card, we've not got any news that will be processed any differently.
What if I'm from Kuwait, have a green card, I'm going to apply for the citizenship, and I currently stay in the US? Am I affected? Most likely no. We'll see. Applying for PhD in the US for F1. Again, based on our understanding, it should be fine. Is India on the list? India is not on the list. I heard a news. I don't know how to put this, but this is a little funny. I saw a news from an Indian news channel. The way they presented the news. So Fox News presented all visas. This Indian news channel presented as Pakistan and Bangladesh are on the list. India isn't on the list. And I thought that was a little, funny. But no, India is not on the list. My mother was waiting for a spouse visa interview in Pakistan. Will affect their process is completed. Which visa? What's the category?
It looks like a spouse, a family petition. Yeah, so we've got the family petition question a few times. It's really unclear. I mean, we're working off a tweet that has what, Alaattin, 20 words in it or something. The details so far, at least when we went live an hour ago, weren't detailed enough to make distinctions between family petitions, employment-based petitions, other types of green cards. We don't even know for sure that this is limited to green card petitioners, but that seems to be the most natural reading. We're going to have to wait to see if this impacts family green card petitions as well.
For those who are asking for individual countries, whether they are on the list, guys, the list is out there. You can just check it yourself. There are 75 countries. We got 250 people now watching this live stream. Guys, we would really appreciate if you could give the video a like, give this live stream a like. We've been here for over an hour trying to answer all your questions. We're happy to do so. It's our job. It's our passion. But please return the favor by clicking that like button and also subscribe to the channel. This is important to us. It motivates us to do more stuff like that. That being said, let's recap it now. I mean, I'm pretty sure like if the longer this live stream goes, more people will join, and this is going to reach 1,000 people. But I don't really think we have all that time. Now, let's recap what is happening, why we started this particular live stream, and what this all means to you guys, right? Let me just share my screen and do a final recap, and then maybe we might take a few more questions. All right. So this morning, the State Department released this particular tweet. It says the State Department will pause immigrant visa processing from 75 different countries. Okay. It says here immigrant visa processing. Right away, we got messages and emails from people from these countries, our clients, and they said, Alaattin, are we on the list? What's happening? And most of them, send us this particular news line from Fox News, which says all visa processing from 75 countries. And when we read a bit more into detail, we see that, the State Department is pausing immigrant visa processing for 75 countries. When we look at the article from CNN, we see it clearly here that it's immigrant visa as well. So it's not all visas. And then, right now we don't have the clearest picture. We don't have the full memo. So we don't know how this will be implemented or whether this is going to be limited to immigrant visas. But at least our understanding now that it is. More information will come on that. And for those who do not necessarily know the distinction between immigrant and non-immigrant visas, we already looked into this chart. Non-immigrant visas are the visas such as B visas, E visas, F visas, O's, L's, H1s, R's. Immigrant visas, also known as green cards, generally the EB categories or family-based petitions. That being said, guys, thank you very much for all the questions. You might read further, and we'll certainly come back and update you with more information that we have. Any closing statement from Grant Dwyer?
This is in flux. This is in process, right? So all the more reason to subscribe to this channel, because we'll probably be having a conversation tomorrow, Alaattin, or maybe on over the weekend or on Monday or Tuesday. There's going to be new news coming out about this all the time. So stay in touch, subscribe to the channel. Don't miss the next video.
Grant, thank you very much for that. Again, guys, for those who are not familiar, Visa franchise has been out there for the past 10 years, and we help entrepreneurs, investors obtain U.S. Residency, generally through E2 visas, E2s, L1s, and O1s. If you guys are, in that situation and you want to see whether you'd be a good fit, go to visafranchise.com, look into our content, take our eligibility test, and if you guys are, in an eligible position, we'll certainly schedule a discovery solution call to look at your case. That being said, thank you very much. It's been a blast. Thanks for joining. Take care now.